Welcome to my channel. Today we will reveal the secret of reading other people's minds. I will teach you 3 simple but powerful techniques that will allow you to read people's minds easily. By mastering these methods, you can easily recognize and understand what anyone is thinking. Now, let me tell you a Buddhist story that will teach you how to read other people's minds. Once upon a time, in a small village, there lived 2 brothers. The elder brother was blind, so he spent most of his time at home, while the younger brother was a farmer, responsible for tilling the land. However, their farmland was often ravaged by wild animals from the fields. The younger brother was troubled by this, but eventually came up with a solution. He thought, why not seek help from my blind brother to scare away the animals in the fields? He could sit in the fields and, upon hearing any animal sounds, shout loudly, thus protecting our crops. The younger brother built a small shed in the field and settled his elder brother there, explaining, "Brother, if you hear any animal sounds, just shout loudly, and the animals will flee, saving our crops." The elder brother agreed with the younger brother's idea and began sitting in the field. Whenever he heard animal sounds, he would shout loudly, scaring them away. They persisted in this for many days. Once, a deer ran through and broke the fence, then fled. Soon after, a king tracking this deer arrived at the place. The king noticed the blind brother and asked him, "Did you see a deer here?" The blind brother replied, "Your Majesty, I am blind. How could I see a deer? But I can tell you, the animal that left my field is not worth chasing. You are wasting your time." The king was surprised by the blind brother's words and asked how he knew this. The king questioned if the blind brother was lying, claiming to be blind but speaking of the deer's worth. The blind brother responded, "Your Majesty, what you consider a deer was actually a pregnant doe. I have never heard of a king hunting a pregnant doe, so I told you she is not worth your pursuit, and you should not waste time chasing her." The king, astonished by this response, couldn't understand how the blind man could discern the doe's pregnancy. The king pondered, how does a blind man know this? How can he be sure the deer I am chasing is pregnant? How can he so confidently tell me this information? Despite being blind, the king felt it necessary to verify this and ordered his commander, "Commander, I want that animal alive. I need to confirm if she is indeed a pregnant doe. This blind man seems very certain. I need to investigate. Please find out if she is pregnant." The king's order was accepted by the commander, who went to execute it. When the commander returned, he told the king that the blind brother was right. The doe was indeed pregnant. The king was surprised and couldn't understand how the blind man knew of the doe's pregnancy. He pondered, how does a blind man know this? How can he be sure the deer I am chasing is pregnant? How can he so confidently tell me this information? The king had many questions and decided to ask the blind brother to clarify the truth. The king said to the blind man, "I may not know if you are truly blind, but I have a question for you. Will you give me the correct answer?" The blind brother replied, "Your Majesty, you can ask me any question you wish to know, and I will answer truthfully." The king said, "You are a wise man, seemingly with deep understanding of many things. Today I come to you to find out if my wife is loyal to me." The blind brother responded, "Your Majesty, what kind of question is this? Your marriage has lasted many years. Why are you asking these questions now? Why do you have these doubts?" But the king insisted, "You must answer this question. If you do not give me the correct answer, I will sentence you to death." Hearing the king's threat, the blind brother said, "Your Majesty, if you want an answer to this question, you must do me a favor." The king asked, "Tell me, what do I need to do?" The blind brother replied, "To answer this question, you must allow me to be alone in a room with your wife." The king was initially angry at this request, but eventually agreed and ordered his commander to leave the blind brother alone in a room with the queen. At that moment, the blind brother expressed his desire to touch the queen. The queen, hearing this request, was furious and began to beat the blind brother with her hands and feet, using all her strength. Then, the blind brother managed to escape and went to find the king. He then told the king, "Your Majesty, your wife is not loyal." The king, enraged, drew his sword and went to find the queen. The king asked the queen a question, warning her that any falsehood would lead to her execution. He asked her if she was loyal, and the queen replied, "Your Majesty, you can kill me, but I am not loyal." Upon hearing this response, the king immediately went to find the blind brother and asked him how he knew the queen was not loyal. The blind man replied, "Your Majesty, it's very simple. When I told your wife that I wanted to touch her, she could have refused, but instead she chose to start beating me, and in the process, touch my entire body. Now you tell me, how can such a woman be loyal? The king said, You are wise. Well, let's continue. Answer one more question, and if you answer correctly, I will let you go. The king then asked, Tell me, am I really my father's son or someone else's? To this, the blind brother replied, Your Majesty, why worry about this matter? Regardless of who your parents are, you are the king of this country. So, please let go of this question. But the king insisted, No, I want an exact answer to this question, otherwise it will always trouble me. So I want to know the truth. The blind brother replied, Your Majesty, I can tell you right now whose child you are. But before that, I hope you promise not to be angry with me. The king said, I promise, I will not be angry with you. Then the blind brother said to the king, You are indeed your father's son, but you also live in the shadow of a stingy merchant. Hearing this, the king hurried to find his mother and asked her, Mother, please tell me the truth. Am I really my father's son or someone else's? If you do not tell me the truth, I will end my life here. To this, the king's mother said, Son, you are indeed your father's child. Your father was a stingy merchant. Hearing this, the king immediately returned to the blind brother. He asked, How did you know I have the shadow of a stingy merchant? The blind man replied, Your Majesty, you have asked me many questions, all of which I have answered correctly. If it were another king, I should have received many rewards by now. But so far, you have not given me a penny. It is from here. I estimate you are very stingy. The king laughed and said, Whatever you want, I will give you. But tell me, how did you get such accurate answers? The blind brother said, Your Majesty, I am blind. If I had eyes, I could easily understand anyone's thoughts. The mind has its language, which can be seen from a person's body movements. By observing a person's eyes, lips, their walk style, and activities, we can understand their thoughts. But I am blind, so I perceive through actions. If I want to know something, I must make the other party complete a task, see how they work, how they complete the task, thereby understanding their thoughts. The king asked, Does that mean I can also understand others' thoughts? The blind brother replied, Of course, Your Majesty, you too can understand anyone's thoughts. But before that, you need to first cultivate yourself, which is to calm your mind and bring it into the present. For this, today I will tell you 3 methods, all of which are simple to practice. But before that, Your Majesty, you must do one thing. Focus your mind. When we focus our mind and merge it with the present, we can understand others' thoughts because the person is thinking in the present, and we must also bring our own mind into the present to understand them. If we are immersed in past events, how can we know what the other person is thinking in the present? To understand anyone's thoughts, first, we need to focus our mind and bring it into the present. The blind brother told the king, Your Majesty, I will tell you 3 methods with which you can easily understand anyone's thoughts. Then the blind man said to the king, The first method is to pay attention to the eyes. When we talk to someone, it is most important to look into their eyes, because the eyes do not speak, but they express a lot. If we learn to understand the signals in a person's eyes, we can know what they are thinking, what they intend to do. I myself am blind, but I learned this skill many years ago from the respected Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, who was my teacher and guide. At that time, I had eyes, and I could understand people's thoughts just through their eyes. So, if you also want to understand others' thoughts, you should focus on their eyes, like their gaze, where they are looking and how they are looking. If their eyes wander around while you are talking to them, it means they are looking for a way to escape the conversation and might be lying. If the other person avoids direct eye contact, it means they are afraid of their lies being exposed, and people will understand the truth. But if their eyes look at you steadily, they might be honest, interested, and want to talk and share their thoughts with you. Also, look at how their eyebrows move. If they frown when looking at you, they might be trying to think hard or worried about something else. If their eyebrows raise and their eyes widen, they might be surprised or curious about what you are saying. Also, look at the size of their pupils, the black part of the eyes. If the pupils dilate, it means they like you or what you are saying. They are excited or happy. If the pupils contract, it means they do not like you or what you are saying. They feel uncomfortable or angry. Also, look at whether their eyes are red or white. The white part of the eye is called the sclera, and if the sclera is red, it means they are tired, stressed, or sick. They might not want to talk to you. I remember once, I met a tired traveler, and when we talked, his eyes were looking everywhere, never at me, indicating he was worried and wanted to leave quickly. I felt he might be hiding something. He didn't want to talk to me. Later, I asked him more questions, and I found out he had a secret plan. Similarly, Other facial expressions can also help us easily understand a person's thoughts. Sometimes, a person shows different behaviors through their facial expressions. If you pay attention to a person's facial expressions, you can easily understand if this person is disappointed, very sad, or extremely happy. You can also figure out their inner feelings, all of which can be determined through their facial expressions. Your Majesty, the face is like a painting, showing people's inner feelings, even if they say nothing. If you want to better understand people, you must pay attention to these silent signals. When you see someone's mouth corners turned down, showing a little sad expression, it usually means they are not happy, dissatisfied, or have lost something. You can also see from their eyes and body whether they are feeling down. On the other hand, a big and genuine smile, a smile that lifts the eyes and cheeks, is a sign of happiness, friendliness, and kindness. The eyes are very important here. When they become small and shiny, you can be sure the smile is genuine. Look at the space between a person's eyebrows. When the skin there wrinkles and becomes deeper and tighter, it usually means they are confused, trying hard to think, or trying to understand something difficult or new. The look of the mouth can tell you a lot. A tight and closed mouth might mean they disagree, do not like something, or do not want to talk. But an open and relaxed mouth means they are open, comfortable, and ready to talk. As you become more skilled in observing and understanding these signals on the face, you will be able to know people's thoughts and feelings, whether they express their feelings out loud or keep silent. Their face will tell you their emotions. Regardless of whether a person expresses in words, you can understand everything from their face. Your Majesty, I will tell you a story. Once, I met a sad person who came to me for help, but they acted as if they didn't care, but I saw a small line on their forehead, indicating they had a problem. I asked them to tell me their problem, and they did so. After that, they felt much better, and I helped them. A genuine smile also makes the eyes happy, meaning they are happy and friendly. Frowning makes the eyebrows droop, meaning they are worried or confused. When they are surprised or curious, their eyebrows raise. You can judge their feelings by looking at their face. Next, he said, Your Majesty, there is also a third language, that is gestures and body language. To understand a person's thoughts, we need to understand gestures and body language. You might notice that when a person speaks, they constantly move their hands and make gestures. Besides language, their body language also plays an important role in conveying thoughts. Your Majesty, the body and hands can express a lot without words. This is like a secret way of communication. You can see what people want, feel through their small movements. Think about it. When someone taps their fingers quickly while talking to you, this rapid sound might mean they are bored, in a hurry, or want to end the conversation as soon as possible. I remember once meeting a person who wanted to sell something to me, and they made this movement. I knew he was nervous, so I let him give me a better price, and he was surprised. Similarly, when someone crosses their arms, they might not like you or what you are saying. They use this way to hide their thoughts. This arms crossed posture is like a wall, safely protecting their thoughts and feelings. Seeing this sign, you can be more friendly and cautious in talking to them, making them feel more comfortable and open. When someone leans forward, they might be interested in you or what you are saying. They are listening to you seriously. This means they are interested and want to hear more. This body movement shows that they want to listen, learn, and understand what you are saying. I once met a wise teacher who did this movement. He was calm, but he leaned forward with interest, showing that he wanted to learn more about this topic. Sometimes, when people frequently touch their face while talking to you, this can help you understand what they are thinking. This usually means they are worried, deep in thought, or have a significant idea. These small touches can show you their thoughts and mood. To be good at understanding others through their body and gestures, you must patiently observe and appreciate their unspoken things. These small but important signs are like a quiet book, showing you their hidden feelings and thoughts inside, letting you better connect with them. Pay attention to these 3 methods and correctly understand them. We can quickly know a person's thoughts, how much they pay attention to our words, and what is happening in their minds. However, before that, you must concentrate, bring it back to the present. Only then can you notice all these movements, understand them, and realize what is happening in the other person's mind. Otherwise, if you are immersed in past events or plans, you will never notice the other person's body language, and you will never be able to understand their thoughts. You might have met many great saints and enlightened ones who calmly look at you, can tell you your thoughts and your purpose of learning from them. The biggest reason behind this is that they can read you, understand you, because their minds are focused and peaceful, which is why they can easily understand your thoughts. Because knowledge has the power to enhance your life. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.